I could do most of this interview on what you write on page 64. And let me give our viewers some examples. Here's what you write. I have become an adjective. There is something called a Rovian style of campaigning, and it's meant as an insult. You go on. One columnist said it consists mainly of throwing mud until it sticks. One prominent blogger described the elements of a textbook Rovian race as fear-based, smear-based, and anything goes.
You know, that's a pretty nasty view of the American voting public. It assumes that these people are easily misled and that people make a decision to vote for somebody, particularly President of the United States, on the basis of mean-spirited, nasty, vicious, despicable reasons. And that's not what a campaign is about. I have more respect for the American public than that. And they're not easily misled. They try and do a good thing when they go into the voting booth.
And you say to believe all the bad things about Karl Rove, first you have to believe that the electorate is stupid, easily misled by smash-mouth TV ads, dirty tricks, and fear and smear politics. I can't imagine you ever calling the electorate stupid. Who would be so stupid to do that?
Well, those journalists were.
Okay, but isn't the rest of it somewhat true?
No.
People are misled by negative campaigns. Otherwise, why would so many campaigns turn negative? The charges or the allegations or the constant comments you hear about Karl Rove that he was the guy behind the whisper campaigns.
In South Carolina.
Right, that he was the guy with the push-poll question about John McCain,
right,
and suggesting, is it possible, how would you feel about John McCain during the 2000 primaries if he were by some chance to have fathered an illegitimate black child? You say you had nothing to do with that.
Nothing to do with it. In fact, I write about this in detail in the book. This is the kind of, this is the kind of thing the media love, these kind of allegations. But for people in practical politics, I got to tell you, I was seized with fear when this rumor began to circulate through South Carolina, not very widely. It was sent out by a professor at Bob Jones University, a fellow named Hand. I thought John McCain would seize it for what it was, which was an enormous opportunity to give an insight into who he and his wife are. Because Cindy McCain adopted a child from an orphanage in Bangladesh, who is their daughter. And the story of this is an incredible tale of love and compassion. But rather than doing that, John McCain said, I'm a victim, and was angry and complained about it and pointed the finger at Bush when he had no evidence whatsoever that Bush was behind it.
But it's hard to turn a smear into a positive.
No, it isn't.
It's an artful process.
Well, but it's doable. And I talk about a number of examples in the book.
While Rove denies any involvement in any smears, some prominent Republicans point the finger directly at him.
Here's what Roy Fletcher, McCain's deputy campaign manager, said of the South Carolina smear. Quote, this whole thing, it was orchestrated by Rove. Cindy McCain, of that same incident. Remember, we've already set it up. The smear involved possibly that this was an illegitimate black child.
That it emanated from an email sent by a Bob Jones University professor to the people on his email list, which may have been 100 people.
She clearly saw it differently because when asked, if Karl Rove were to walk by here, would you stab him in the back? She said, I'm paraphrasing here, but no, I would stab him in the front.
Right.
President Bush's former speechwriter Matt Latimer said this about you in his book, quote, he was what all the liberals said he was, the villain, and to make matters worse, a clumsy one at that. He turned out to be less of Voldemort than a Boris Badenoch chasing Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Yeah. Well, I do like Rocky and Bullwinkle. Look, Cindy McCain and the McCain campaign, Fletcher and others, they needed somebody to blame, and they didn't want to blame Bush. It was hard to blame Bush. He's a nice guy. People knew him. It wouldn't stick. So why not pick out the sort of dough-faced, balding guy who's the gray eminence behind the campaign and blame him? And look, that's the way politics is. Bush had a theory. He'd say, "Better you than me," and that's right. That came with the territory.